How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video, and this case does just keep on giving. It seems the CMA decided that today was the day that they would come out fighting, and they got slapped down to the ground like there was no tomorrow. Yes, you heard that right. Now, they did come out and they did give what seemed like a 3-hour speech in their defense to try and basically push back expert witnesses in order to have the judge basically make the decision themselves. Now, Microsoft, to give some background, came out and basically said that they did not consider US law. Now, when they were making these decisions, they were making them based on UK law. But these contracts that were being legally bound by Microsoft, the 10-year deals, these were being done with US contract law, and it was the CMA's due diligence to make sure that they got local law facts under their belt and actually understood where they stood before they actually made these decisions. But they completely disregarded the rule of law in the US, especially when it comes to contract law. And what Microsoft were arguing was that this was basically negligence on the side of the CMA, and the fact that they made these decisions without being contextually informed or totally up to date, with what is going on, means that their decision was delivered with, without a full understanding of what it was that they were trying to do. Now, the judge did turn around and try to understand and in a little way try to downplay what Microsoft was saying, and basically asked them, is what you are saying important to this legal case? Is it important to this merger? Because he can't quite understand. Now, Microsoft said no, but that's not the point that's being made here. The point isn't regarding the legality of what it has transpired, but the point being made is that the CMA did not look at this case through the US perspective, and even if they did, they chose to not do that and chose the path of just using English law, which suited their case. What Microsoft was saying is that the CMA has performed material error, which can only be because it supported them. There are legal relevant reasons as to why they should have done this and sought expert US counsel to address their points, but they haven't done this, and as such, they have been negligent by will. Now, Activision then got up and made a couple of statements supporting what Microsoft was saying that making any expert witness inadmissible would be negligent and detrimental to the case because the expert witness is important. Now, they really wanted this expert witness to come up, but the CMA basically had other plans. Now, to give you some context, the CMA didn't want the expert witness to actually appear, even though they didn't know what it was. And that's quite scary, right? Because why would you not want something that you don't even know what it is? But Microsoft insisted that all expert evidence to be reviewed by all, so everyone's on a level playing field, including the CMA, and that they believed that this was important to the actual case. They said that this will provide a better understanding for Microsoft and the judge and the CMA, so all act in knowledge of expert witnesses. The CMA will naturally have been trying to remove the need for expert witnesses from the US, as it likely doesn't support their cause. A case from 2020 was cited, essentially saying that things can't be taken on assumption, which is what the CMA has done, and that this should not be the case, but should be an informed decision based on the evidence. Clearly, the CMA basically went with what they believed was correct. They knew that if they went and checked the US contract law, they probably wouldn't have had the basis to stand on, so they chose to ignore information that was readily available to them in order to strengthen their case, which is pretty bad when you think about it. Now, the second Activision lawyer got up to say to dismiss foreign law and not seek expert counsel from the US under US contract law should not be inadmissible and should be one that the legal team of the CMA should have taken into account. We are not saying the outcome would be different. It could very well be the same. But the fact that they completely ignored it for us is the problem. It means they had no intention of being fair. They took no local legal advice, and as such, these conclusions have no legal value because they essentially aren't correct, right? They're based on one-sided events only. Because of this, it is a fundamental error that they don't accept, but one we say is an error because they have chosen not to take local legislation into consideration. Of course, if they disagree, they can put a response in, but my belief is that they won't have any response, and that they should just agree that their decision in this regard was wrong. But we welcome their response with evidence should they have any. And what he's saying essentially here is, we are telling you that what you did was wrong. Now, if you think what you did was correct, please provide the evidence to, show that what you said was correct. And they're basically saying that they're pretty confident that the CMA has no defense. So they're saying we can end this debate here and now if the CMA just concedes. Of course they didn't, so the debate went on. Now, the CMA won't serve their defense until the 6th of July, and they won't submit expert evidence until sometime between the 26th of June and the 6th of July, trying to delay the process as much as they can humanly possibly do. Activision did say that they are just delaying and they have ample time to deal with this, but they are just pushing it further out. He went on to say that if the CMA wants to propose remedies for this to be resolved, that would be the easiest outcome that we can all work on and come to a conclusion, but unfortunately it seems this is not an approach they are willing to undertake. Which is a really, really big thing, right? They basically turned around to the judge and said, look, from where we're standing, we're happy to resolve this right now. We're happy to take remedies and, sort it out and come to an understanding. But the CMA is not playing ball. They refuse to listen to anything we have to say. Now, the CMA say they oppose the economic definitions, saying these are not true, and ask the judge to help them as they proceed. Like they're basically asking for help from the judge at this point, saying, please, can you, we're going to be looking for your guidance, was the correct term, to guide them through this process. And it's like, why would you want to do that? If you had a good enough case for yourself, you would not be needing to be turning around to a judge and saying, hey, we kind of need your help, buddy, but, Now, the expert evidence only Now, the CMA argues that expert evidence is only submitted under judicial review, which in general cases is actually correct. You don't actually provide it for merger cases, but in this case it's quite special because the CMA has lied out of their teeth, manipulated information that they've had, and have basically used that information in their own way, manipulated without providing the full truth to actually get their point across. So it's a different one in that case because of how it's actually done. Now, Microsoft and Activision, they said, are trying to shoehorn their expert reviews as it come. Microsoft and Activision, they said, are trying to shoehorn their expert witnesses as it supports their case, which is why the CMA isn't. They went on to say that this court doesn't need an expert economic witness regarding irrationality, as it's a public law argument and therefore doesn't apply and doesn't meet the conditions set out within statute law. It should be made by counsel. And expert witnesses is not needed. And they are saying the evidence has issues as it wasn't disclosed. But of course the CMA should have sought local law in the first place, right? They shouldn't need this information to be disclosed. The fact is that they chose themselves not to go and seek this information when it was already there and told to them that the information was there. Now, the CMA tried to turn the tables around, saying, Microsoft are trying to expedite this case, and these merger cases are generally expedited, but this one's going extremely fast, faster than usual. However, by allowing Microsoft to produce expert evidence, this will only add unnecessary lengthening of the process, and the CMA finds that an expert witness is not needed and is a diversion, if anything else, and should be omitted. Again, now the CMA is trying to turn the tables and say, hey, look, all this time Microsoft was saying, we want to get this out there, we're in a tight deadline, we want to get this through. Well, now they're trying to prolong it. Why would Microsoft be trying to prolong it? It makes no sense. Now, what ensued after this was a pretty much 3-hour exposition as to why the CMA is saying that the expert witness should not be brought up. The expert witness should be omitted, and the judge should basically rule that it is not needed. They came up with all sorts of definitions and all sorts of case files, all sorts of precedents to the judge. And the judge asked the CMA, would they be okay, as they put it, to make a decision based on the expert view they have, and if they need to seek further help, they can get that to make an informed decision, even if it means supporting Microsoft. So what they're saying here is, we have our expert knowledge, but if we need more information, are you okay with us going to this expert witness, getting their view and impressions, and if it ends up being in favor of Microsoft's outcome, are you okay with this? And the CMA was like saying, no, we are saying you make a decision to speed it up. We don't want that expert witness to come on board. We don't want them at all. Then the judge was trying to be fair to Microsoft because they're requesting this, and the legal counsel from the CMA just couldn't really come up with anything, substantial to not to make this happen. The judge even said that, if we go through the route that Microsoft's going, which is fair by bringing their expert witness in, well, you can also cross-examine the person. So you can get your point across too, that everyone is happy days. But the CMA kept on saying no, that it wasn't acceptable. They absolutely did not want this expert witness to take place. They were really, really adamant that this was a bad thing for them. I wonder why. Well, the judge kept on pressing on, which was interesting because you could see that the judge was trying to find different ways to phrase it, because I believe they actually wanted the expert witness, despite the fact that it would add some time. Because Microsoft is making the case that it is relevant having this expert witness on, and that the decision that the CMA did was irrational, and that the expert witness will prove this. Now, the CMA was still arguing, saying, nope, 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 nope. I mean, it pretty much was a gif at this point. And it was like, they were going, no expert witness, la, 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 not listening, you can make the decision yourself, la, 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 la. It was becoming a calamitous joke. Now, the judge wants the CMA and Microsoft to come to an agreement. That is on cloud. That is the ideal solution. But the CMA said no, as that would naturally support Microsoft. So they just said, we're not going to do that. And they just want this expert witness omitted. So the judge even tried to get them to come together, but the CMA just kept on persisting no. Now, the key point then turned around to that 80%. And the CMA was saying the 80% market share holds no relevance to the decision. And I'm like, what? I mean, even the Microsoft lawyers were like, bruh. The three judges grilled the CMA, saying that in their opinion, this is relevant information. But the CMA kept twisting things, saying that the information they had would make it relevant and the errors aren't on their side, but are on Microsoft's side. Yet the judge is saying this is critical evidence by having the expert witness, and the CMA downplaying this is not rational. So this judge here was actually getting a bit upset. But the CMA is still saying the 80% isn't relevant. But we all know their defense was based on the 80% because they had an 80% market share. How did they get to this figure? And the lawyers were basically, the CMA lawyers, representatives, were saying that, well, maybe this information isn't as accurate as people would like, but this was what was provided. Now, obviously, the 80% figure isn't correct, and the CMA know this, and they are trying to downplay this, and the judge is having none of it. As he is saying, if you take this and say it's not relevant, well, Microsoft will say it's his, as the decision was derived using this 80% figure. If you say it is, well, then Microsoft have grounds here to basically say you're wrong. So after the 3 hours entourage of the CMA, I mean, that's how long it felt, honestly. It could have been 2, but it felt like a 3-hour exposition. The Activision lawyers basically said, yeah, we know you want to get it blocked and dismissed, but we still want it. And if you have any objections with it, well, you can argue with the expert witness on the day in front of the judge. Microsoft's lawyer, Beard, then stepped in and said that the CMA are wrong, saying they didn't have this info, or the fact that the consideration doesn't matter when it absolutely does, especially in this situation, and to say they were not presented with this info is not correct. They had this info and access to this info and chose to ignore it as it simply didn't suit their agenda. Now, the CMA, after hearing all this and seeing their case crumbling, decided to tackle this from another point of view. They said that accepting these materials of evidence and whatnot being omitted would open the floodgates to other legal cases, that this could become a precedent. But Microsoft came up and said that is irrational thinking. This is specifically for this case, and it will not hold any precedence, mainly because this case is so foobarred that nothing like this will ever appear again. As for the statement that they did not provide that information, Microsoft said that we did, but as a combined telemetry, basically console players and cloud players combined together, which made the 80%, and had the CMA asked for a split, we would have provided that, but they did not request this, and so it wasn't provided. So essentially, the telemetry data provided to the CMA did not allow for cloud, non-cloud split. So basically, the CMA really did just count all Game Pass users as cloud gamers, which is something that was confirmed today. Based on their defense, based on the CMA's response, all Game Pass users are essentially cloud gamers, which is ludicrous. That is not the case. I would say such a tiny portion of users use cloud on Game Pass. It's negligible. I mean, things went from bad to worse for the CMA when they started questioning the witness that attended Microsoft, saying that that was bias and that should not be allowed. And so Microsoft said, well, you knew she was there. You knew why she was there. So why wasn't these questions penciled into your skeleton report for today so we could have provided, formal answers to any of your queries? In fact, we could have brought the expert witness with us. The simple fact is, you didn't care. And you had no intention of caring. And this went on for a little bit. And the judge then decided to take a little bit of a break, and then came his decision on whether expert witness would be allowed. Justice Smith, the judge, said that the timetable allows for submission of evidence, which is a massive slap in the face to the CMA, who basically spent this whole day, trust me, it was painful to listen, but I swear it felt like 3 hours, trying to get this evidence thrown out. But Justice Smith said, nope, we believe that this is relevant information and relevant to the case, and dismissing it would not be good. The use of the economic expert witness, however, the one that Microsoft are going to bring in, will only be for specific purposes. They're not going to be sitting there answering all sorts of questions. They are only going to be targeted, pulled upon to explain specific situations towards cloud gaming and Game Pass. And essentially that is all Microsoft want. They want accurate information because the CMA themselves have basically been going on a merry-go-round, making shit up as they go along. The court may find in its judgment that the evidence is inadmissible. and then Microsoft will have to reimburse the CMA for the cost of paying experts to respond. Now, what he's saying here is we are actually going to give Microsoft the benefit of the doubt. We are letting them bring the expert witness. We understand that this is more work for the CMA and that there is a burden cost for this. Now, if it turns out that this expert witness is completely and utterly a waste of time and trash, Microsoft will need to reimburse you for all the time that you spent on a defense or questioning or whatever, preparation time for this expert witness, which I think is fair, right? The cost award would be independent of whether Microsoft wins the appeal per se. Microsoft, and to the extent relevant, Activision, will have to respond quickly to any questions from the CMA about that evidence. Basically, the judge asked them if, now that we're going down this route, we expect everyone to be really prompt with their information because the timeline is really short. They even turned around to Microsoft and said, we know you've been really good. You've pretty much responded to most of the requirements the same day. So we have, all we want from you is for you to continue doing what you're doing. And then they turned around to the CMA and they said, we don't want you to continue doing what you're doing because we can see that you're not working as fast as Microsoft. We need you to work faster and not delay this process any more than it already has been. So the CMA, Justice Smith could already see what the CMA were doing and trying to prolong stuff for no reason. Justice Smith basically, after basically almost accusing the CMA of trying to, donkey shit up and postpone, delay things as much as humanly possible, kind of came back to earth and said, this is no criticism, but Microsoft has responded expeditiously to everything so far. So we kind of expect the same from you as well. And, well, that was the end of the case. So on the 6th of July, we're going to be back again. Again, we were not allowed to stream it. Someone did actually try to stream it. And because of that, the first 45 minutes of the court case was taken offline until they managed to do something to prevent people from streaming. It was really stupid. And there's actually really legal consequences for trying to stream it when they tell you you're not allowed to. So if this person was from the UK, they could be in big trouble. But essentially what's happened here is, in a nutshell, the TLDR, the CMA did not want the expert witness to take stand, and to basically provide the information, because I'm guessing that the CMA is fearing that the information provided by the expert witness will be so damning and detrimental to their case that it will pretty much fall apart from the seams. But just imagine standing there for 2-3 hours explaining your case, and then the judge turns around and goes, yeah, but we're still bringing in the expert witness. Maybe in a limited capacity, but we think it's beneficial for them to have that. That must be severely damning to you, right? That must smash your confidence. And you can see it in their faces as well, that they were extremely disappointed in this outcome. But it just goes to show that the CMA has been waffling their way through, and it's now getting more and more interesting as their lies, their technical understanding of the case is being torn apart, and the judge is seeing this, completely for what it is, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So far, where it stands right now, the ball's in Microsoft's court. This expert witness has a lot riding on her, and if she actually delivers and provides accurate information, I genuinely do wonder if the CMA would concede and actually decide to go down the remedies part. It's actually possible before the court case. So, interesting times. But that's the video. I know it's been another long one, but I do hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Leave a comment below, let me know what you thought, and until next time, remain legend.